Summary of the hottest news of the day. News 1. Air India plane crash. Mystery behind mid-air fuel cutoff. News 2. Ukraine hit by Russian UAV storm. Tactical shift observed. News 3. Donald Trump, vague yet implying statement on Russia-Ukraine. News 4. Iran strikes U.S. base in Qatar. Retaliation for U.S. bombing of nuclear facility. News 5. European Union showcases naval power in Indo-Pacific. News 6. Taiwan unveils Abrams tanks, a move to counter China. News Report 1. Air India plane crash, the mystery of mid-air fuel cutoff. Today, we dive deep into an event that shocked the world and raised countless questions. The horrifying crash of an Air India plane in June. What seemed like a straightforward accident turned out to be filled with strange and chilling details. The most haunting question remains, who cut off the aircraft's fuel right after takeoff? The Boeing 787 Dreamliner, carrying 261 people, including passengers and crew, departed from Ahmedabad Airport on June 12th, heading to London. But just 3 seconds after its wheels left the runway, the unthinkable happened. Both engines completely lost thrust. In that fateful moment, the aircraft began to free fall from a height of just 200 meters, leaving no time to turn back, no chance to recover. In the end, only one person survived the entire flight. 260 lives, gone in an instant. However, details later revealed from the cockpit voice recorder opened a door to mystery, making the crash a hot topic not only in the aviation industry, but also among the global public. In the recording, one pilot is clearly heard panicking, asking the other, "Why did you cut the fuel?" And the other pilot completely denies it, saying he never did such a thing. This raises a serious question. If neither pilot intentionally shut off the fuel, what happened? Was it a technical failure? A system glitch? Or is there something else being hidden? The initial investigation report by India's Aviation Safety Agency stated that both fuel switches, which must remain in the on position during takeoff, showed signs of having switched to the off position just seconds after liftoff. That action caused both engines to nearly instantly shut down. Even more puzzling, at the crash site, both switches were found in the on position. This suggests that someone may have switched them back after the crash. Could someone have tried to cover it up? Or did the pilot try to restart the engines in a last desperate attempt, but failed? An American aviation safety expert remarked, "There is no way a pilot would accidentally turn off both fuel switches during takeoff. That contradicts all procedures and professional instincts." That statement sent chills down many spines, because if it wasn't accidental, then why did it happen? A Dreamliner, such a modern aircraft with cross-check systems and automation, should have prevented such a failure. Yet in this case, the system failed to save 260 lives. Ironically, to this day, the Indian government has not issued any recommendation to Boeing or the engine manufacturer, even as all eyes turn to them. We can't draw conclusions hastily, but clearly, something is being left unsaid. An extremely rare technical glitch? An inexplicable human error? Or a missing piece of a puzzle still being kept from the public? For the victims and their families, the biggest question may not just be, why? But, could this have been prevented if the aviation process was more transparent and honest? Passenger trust in every flight is built on absolute faith in the system and the people who operate it. But if that trust is shaken by unclear and mysterious circumstances, when will we ever feel truly safe again? The story of the Air India plane that crashed just 3 seconds after takeoff isn't just a tragedy. It's a wake-up call to the global aviation industry that a single error, an overlooked detail, or a hidden truth can cost the lives of hundreds of innocent people. News Report 2. Ukraine bombarded by Russian UAVs, a tactical shift. We now delve into a development shaking the Eastern European front, where the war between Russia and Ukraine continues to escalate and evolve daily. While the world debates military aid, diplomatic solutions, or sanctions, on the actual battlefield, Russia has launched an attack described by experts as the largest wave of drones since the conflict began. In the early morning of July 9th, Ukrainians were jolted awake not by the usual air raid sirens, but by a different sound, the roar of hundreds of UAVs in the sky. Official reports recorded 728 drones and 13 missiles launched into Ukraine by Russia in a single night. This is an unprecedented figure since the outbreak of the Russia-Ukraine war in 2022. Even more concerning, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned that this number could rise further to 1,000 UAVs per night in the coming months. If this becomes reality, it would be a nightmare for any air defense system, no matter how modern. What's especially troubling to military analysts is the clear shift in Russia's attack tactics. Gone are the days of scattered individual strikes. Now, Russian drones attack Ukraine from all directions, at varying altitudes, causing Kyiv's air defenses to become disoriented. Some UAVs even display unpredictable behavior, flying past Kyiv at first, seemingly ignoring it, only to suddenly turn back, accelerate, and strike the center. This feint and strike tactic not only confuses Ukrainian radar systems, but also makes it difficult for defense units to distinguish between real threats and decoys. Even more dangerously, Russia is not just using UAVs as offensive weapons, but turning them into decoys that deliberately drain Ukraine's limited stockpile of anti-aircraft missiles. The Ukrainian military is forced into a risky dilemma: either fire at suspected real targets, potentially wasting valuable ammunition, or hold back and risk letting a real threat through. This is a dangerous gamble, and in war, mistakes cost lives and critical infrastructure. Christina Howard, a military analyst at the Institute for the Study of War, ISW, noted that Russia's combination of decoy UAVs and explosive-laden drones is a psychological game against Ukraine's defense forces. It forces defenders to make split-second decisions under extreme pressure, where even a brief miscalculation can cause the whole system to collapse. Additionally, many Russian UAVs are flying at altitudes beyond the reach of anti-aircraft guns, forcing Ukraine to use expensive missiles, further straining its already stretched resources. On the other side, Russia's Ministry of Defense claimed it shot down 155 Ukrainian UAVs over Russian territory between July 10th and 11. Although this number has yet to be independently verified, it's evident that both sides are intensifying their use of drones as a central component of modern warfare strategy. This indicates that the battlefield in Ukraine is entering a new phase, a phase of drone warfare, where speed, surprise, and psychological tactics can change the course of the war. Ladies and gentlemen, this conflict is no longer confined to the ground. It has become a high-stakes battle of wits in the skies, where every sound might signal death. And in this context, once again, the world is forced to confront the brutal reality of modern warfare, where technology, instead of protecting humanity, becomes a tool of destruction. News Report 3. Donald Trump, vague yet suggestive remarks on Russia-Ukraine. As the Russia-Ukraine war shows no signs of de-escalation, former U.S. President Donald Trump has once again stirred global public opinion with his sudden and ambiguous statements. He's neither a military general nor a current diplomat, yet every word he utters still has the power to trigger media shockwaves and make global political observers tread carefully. In an interview on July 10th, Trump didn't say much, but one short sentence was enough to silence the political world. "I know people are about to see something happening." He added that an official announcement regarding Russia would be made on July 14th. Analysts quickly connected this to a previous comment he made about a little surprise, especially amid emerging signals that the U.S. might be seeking a new path to address the Russia-Ukraine conflict, one that operates outside the current international frameworks. Trump's ambiguity may well be his strategic weapon. Without saying anything directly, he forces involved parties to speculate, to shift their positions, and most importantly, to closely monitor every subtle move from the U.S. The impact of this strategy has already become evident. Russia seized the moment. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, an experienced diplomat, quoted Trump directly when responding to questions about new U.S. sanctions. He said, "Let me respond with Donald Trump's own words. Expect big surprises." His remark served as both a diplomatic rebuttal and a veiled challenge to the West. Simultaneously, Russia announced that it had submitted a new proposal to resolve the Ukraine conflict during a meeting between Lavrov and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Malaysia. The details of this proposal remain undisclosed, but it further heightens the anticipation surrounding Trump's upcoming announcement. Could this be the foundation for a new turning point, or merely a tactical foreign policy maneuver? Meanwhile, the U.S. government has yet to officially confirm anything. However, signs suggest dissatisfaction within the White House over Russia's conduct in the negotiations. Trump himself is reportedly frustrated and disappointed with Russian President Vladimir Putin's rigid and uncompromising stance. Some close sources even claim Trump has urged his national security advisors to explore additional sanctions to increase pressure on the Kremlin. The world now awaits July 14, not just because of a former president's promise, but because everyone understands that if Trump truly returns with a major initiative or directional statement, the geopolitical map of Europe may once again tremble. This situation is not just a military confrontation, but a battle of will, strategy, and psychological power. In this arena, Donald Trump, though no longer in official office, remains a powerful wildcard, capable of shifting the balance if he so chooses. Ladies and gentlemen, in politics, silence sometimes carries more weight than 1,000 words. And one cryptic sentence from Donald Trump can cause more disruption than an entire press conference by world leaders. We now wait to see whether the surprise Trump hinted at will become a game changer or merely another psychological move on the global chessboard. The answer will come in just a few days. News Report 4. Iran strikes U.S. base in Qatar, retaliation for U.S. bombing of nuclear facilities. While global attention remains fixed on tensions in Eastern Europe, a serious incident in the Middle East, a region long considered a powder keg, has just occurred, potentially reshaping the entire global strategic landscape. Iran launched a ballistic missile attack directly at the Al Udeid Air Base, a key U.S. military installation near Qatar's capital, Doha. This was no ordinary strike. It was a clear warning and the most direct response from Iran after the U.S. carried out airstrikes on 3 of its nuclear facilities. According to confirmed reports, the attack took place on June 23rd. Satellite images released by Planet Labs later revealed something unusual: a massive radar dome, a symbolic part of the surveillance system at Al Udeid, had completely vanished. Just hours earlier, satellite photos still showed the dome intact, suggesting it wasn't dismantled but was destroyed during the strike. Furthermore, additional images showed damage to nearby buildings, though the rest of the base appeared largely undisturbed. But even that was enough to jolt the world. Initially, the Pentagon remained silent. However, after the images spread through international media, they were forced to confirm that an Iranian ballistic missile did, in fact, strike the radar dome area at the base. A Pentagon spokesperson attempted to downplay the event, saying the damage was minimal and had no impact on operational capabilities, and that U.S.-Qatar coalition forces continued to uphold regional security. But that raises a question. If the damage was so minor, why stay silent until the satellite images exposed it? The story doesn't end there. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, immediately announced that this was a devastating attack and part of its official retaliation for the U.S. bombings of its nuclear sites. Meanwhile, Iran's Supreme National Security Council declared that Al Udeid had been destroyed, though it offered no concrete evidence or casualty figures. A notable detail was revealed by a close advisor to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The base's communication systems were completely disabled following the attack. This not only demonstrated the missile's accuracy, but also sent a message. Iran has the capability to paralyze U.S. command centers in the region if provoked. This was no longer a threat. It was an action. This was more than just a military strike. It was a blow to U.S. strategic pride, delivered right at one of its largest and most crucial military installations in the Middle East. Al Udeid is not only home to the U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, in the region, but also a vital link in the Gulf's strategic surveillance chain, monitoring Iran and operations stretching from Syria to Afghanistan. By launching a missile directly at this base, Iran was making a bold statement. we are ready and capable of retaliation. This marks a significant escalation in the long-standing US-Iran confrontation and signals that the Middle East could spiral further into violence if the parties involved do not act with restraint. One missile didn't just destroy a radar dome. It may have shattered the fragile hopes for peace that the international community has been striving to preserve. And when superpowers choose force over dialogue, we, the observers, must be more vigilant than ever to understand the true nature of these actions. News Report 5. European Union showcases naval power in the Indo-Pacific. In the past, the Indo-Pacific region was often seen as the geopolitical stage of major powers like the US and China. But now, a new force is quietly yet decisively stepping into this strategic game: the European Union. Without fanfare or noise, the rotational deployment of aircraft carriers by the UK, France, and Italy to the region has prompted observers to reconsider. Is Europe redefining its strategic position in a maritime theater, thousands of nautical miles from the old continent? In recent months, the UK's HMS Prince of Wales officially began an 8-month mission in the Indo-Pacific. Not long before that, France's legendary aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle had wrapped up a challenging 5-month deployment in the same region. Going back a year further, Italy had also sent its aircraft carrier Cavour for a 5-month deployment. These are not mere symbolic gestures. They represent a deliberate, strategic, and goal-oriented presence. The main reason behind this coordinated deployment is clear: China. Over the past decade, China has steadily built a powerful navy, both in numbers and capabilities. It has now surpassed the US as the world's largest navy by number of warships and submarines. Moreover, China's increasing military activity in the South China Sea, the Western Pacific, and around Taiwan has raised concerns among other nations about regional stability and freedom of navigation. That's why the major European powers have decided they can no longer sit on the sidelines. They understand that passive observation risks being pushed out of the global influence game. These carrier deployments are not just military in nature, they are strategic commitments. They signify that Europe is ready to be present, ready to cooperate, and ready to defend the principles that underpin international order: freedom of navigation, respect for sovereignty, and balance of power. International analysts have noted that the joint deployment of carrier strike groups by the UK, France, and Italy, 3 key EU members, reflects a rare level of strategic consensus within Europe on global security. This is no longer about individual nations. It is the manifestation of a deep, consistent, and collective foreign policy. Moreover, these deployments help strengthen defense diplomacy with regional powers like Japan, South Korea, India, and ASEAN countries. It's also important to highlight that these missions are not just about moving ships to distant waters. Throughout their operations, the European carrier groups have participated in joint exercises, shared combat experience, conducted advanced operational training, and coordinated maritime security with regional allies. These tangible actions help build strategic trust and send a strong message to those seeking to alter the status quo. We are here, and we are ready. Ladies and gentlemen, maritime competition has never cooled down, and in a world where power is increasingly shaped by control of sea routes, presence, and how that presence is executed, will define future strategic standing. Europe's methodical return to the Indo-Pacific is not just a sign of a new world order taking shape. It's a clear assertion that no single power has the right to dominate this crucial maritime domain. News Report 6. Taiwan unveils Abrams tanks, responding to China. Amid rising tensions in the Taiwan Strait, the island has made a significant military move: the official debut of its M1A2T Abrams main battle tanks, some of the most powerful ground weapons in the world today. More than a routine drill, the recent event in Hsinchu was widely seen as a firm declaration to Beijing that Taiwan is enhancing its defense capabilities to the highest level, ready to respond to any threat. During a live-fire tactical exercise in northern Taiwan, 4 M1AT Abrams tanks were deployed for the first time in combat formation, under the direct supervision of Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te. These American-made armored giants are not ordinary vehicles. They are a clear symbol of deep strategic cooperation between Washington and Taipei. With advanced fire control systems, high mobility, and superior armor, the Abrams M1A2T is expected to elevate Taiwan's ground response capabilities to a new level. These four tanks are part of a larger batch of 108 Abrams tanks the U.S. has agreed to deliver under a previous defense agreement. The rest will be handed over gradually until early 2026. The early deployment of some of these tanks carries not only tactical significance, but also strategic weight, sending a strong message to mainland China that Taiwan is bolstering its defenses against potential incursions across the strait. This event is clearly a response to a series of amphibious landing drills and reconnaissance exercises recently conducted by the People's Liberation Army, PLA, in China's Fujian province, just across the Taiwan Strait. Beijing's recent actions, from flying warplanes near Taiwan's air defense identification zone to staging simulated island seizure scenarios, have left Taipei with no choice but to comprehensively upgrade its defenses. However, military analysts have also issued strategic warnings. While the Abrams is a powerful combat machine with formidable defensive and offensive capabilities, in an era of asymmetric and high-tech warfare, modern battle tanks are vulnerable to attacks from UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles. Without effective close-range air defense or anti-drone systems, even the most advanced Abrams tanks can become easy targets. That's why Taiwanese officials are swiftly integrating airspace defense elements into their armored deployment strategies. A clear example of this is the ongoing 41st Han Kuang exercise, a 10-day, non-stop live-fire drill that is unprecedented in its scale and intensity. This operation serves not only to test the endurance and full-spectrum combat readiness of Taiwan's military, but also to synchronize all branches, Air Force, Army, artillery, and air defense, under simulated scenarios of full-scale war. Drills are not declarations of war, they are preparations for it. And for Taiwan, that preparation has never been more urgent, as signals from China grow increasingly clear. They are not ruling out military means to reclaim the island. In that context, acquiring the M1A2T Abrams tanks is not just about firepower. It is a strategic move to boost public morale, reassure the population, and send a strong message to any force attempting to test Taipei's resolve. The standoff in the Taiwan Strait is no longer just a local dispute between two shores. It is a potential global flashpoint that could draw in the world's major powers. And every move Taiwan makes today, from a military drill to the arrival of new tanks, carries more strategic weight than ever before.